Are you ready for our new podcast?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, baby. Okay. Well, today we've got a few pretty cool topics queued up, and I'm interested to get kids' perspective on this. So let's get to work. First topic is student loan forgiveness, something you all had asked me about the other day, and I thought it would be prudent to queue it up as a topic for our podcast so we can dig in and share some of the innocent questions you all have and talk about what this is, what it means, how it works, what's in the news about it, etc. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get this started.
All right. So to get this started, I'm just going to queue up a Wall Street Journal clip from YouTube, and we'll watch that. It'll explain a little bit about what's happening and some of the recent news, and then we'll dig in. Here we go.
Supreme Court struck down President Biden's student loan forgiveness program, which was set to wipe out nearly $430 billion in debt. The 6-3 decision signals to millions of borrowers that they must begin paying back their debt after a 3-year pause as a result of the pandemic.
For borrowers around the country who had been making financial decisions based on the hope they would see this forgiveness, it could have major implications to their pocketbooks.
Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, which was announced last August, sought to permanently forgive up to $20,000 in federal student debt for millions of Americans.
95% of the borrowers can benefit from these actions. That's 43 million people.
More than 26 million people applied for the program or were automatically eligible. And of those 26 million, more than 16 million were approved for loan cancellation by the Education Department. The plan would cost the federal government
Interesting.
$100 billion.
Mm-hmm.
The question is really whether the president has the authority himself to wipe away potentially hundreds of billions of dollars in student loan debt, or whether Congress needed to give explicit authority to the president to do that.
Approximately 10 hours later,
After President Trump announced a suspension on payments due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 3 years later, those who were hoping to see at least some of their loans forgiven will have to restart their payments.
Be notable to see who voters blame for this outcome. Do they blame Republicans and conservative majority Supreme Court for striking it down? Or do they blame President Biden for maybe getting out ahead of his skis and putting forward a proposal that would eventually be struck down in the court?
Very interesting. I think that's kind of a strange policy that Biden did.
Why is that?
Because, if you're, I don't quite get the point of helping other people with their student loans. Because then that's basically just taking more out of everyone else's, money and just sending it to them to help them instead of us helping ourselves.
Okay. And Max, this is a tiring topic for you. You see the big yawn. Are you with us? Student loan, snooze. Max, bring it together. Pull it together, buddy. All right. This is important because, as we saw, there have been attempts to forgive $400 billion worth of student debt.
That's crazy.
And when we say forgive it, it doesn't just magically go away. So I just want to make sure I explain this to you guys. It doesn't magically go away because student loans are guaranteed by the federal government. So therefore, if somebody doesn't pay their student loans, the federal government will pay on their behalf. And in this case, they're looking to take taxpayer money and allocate it towards those student loans. So ultimately, the schools will still get paid, and it will come out of what?
Our pockets.
Okay, kind of, yes. Basically. I mean, it will come out of our taxes, right? That's where the government makes money, is on taxes, and then they would apply it to these student loans.
Yeah.
So essentially, the people that are working would pay for those people that have gone to school and have student loan debt.
Yeah, that doesn't quite make that much sense.
Okay. Tell me more why you don't think that makes sense.
Because, that's basically just where we have to pay money for someone else. It's basically where we're working, and they are learning, and then we have to pay for being a student at a school or whatever.
Yeah. But let me define a couple of things first. Do you both understand what a loan is?
Yes.
Okay,
It's something that, like, comes out of a bank, right? And you have to repay it.
that's right. Okay. And so a loan by definition is money that you borrow with the intent to pay back over time,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So when we say student loan, that's the money that somebody borrowed to be a student or get an education. Student loan forgiveness, that means they would wipe out those loans and utilize taxpayer money to fulfill those loans versus the person who actually took out the loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay, so you guys understand that? Max, you
Yes.
with me, buddy? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. All right, let's go. So, so what has happened here is that President Biden came out with an executive order. Of course, he's our commander in chief, and so he came out with an executive order and used the COVID pandemic as an emergency because they can do things in emergencies with executive privileges, and he used that as a method to forgive student debt. And so he essentially is giving millions of Americans up to $20,000 each student debt relief, aka
Wow.
taxpayer relief to compensate for those loans versus the person who took out the loans. Right?
Yep.
Okay. And this decision was kind of contentious. So it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that it is not constitutional and that the president doesn't have the right
Or the power.
or the executive privilege to make that decision, even under the guise of emergency response. So it's probably not over. I think this is going to be still contested in the courts and everything, but it's an interesting topic because this will be in the news more and more.
Yeah.
A question: Don't you think that everybody has the right to get a good education?
Yeah, if they have the money to, basically.
Okay. But what if they don't have the money to?
Then they should work to get a good education.
Okay. Well, then don't some people have an advantage? Like if you come from a family that has money that can afford to send you to school,
Yep.
versus somebody who might be smart but just doesn't have the money?
Yeah.
Or do you think that's fair? Maybe that's a better way.
I feel like it's more fair if, like, because it's not our fault if the smart person doesn't have the money. But, like, the person already has money, so they already have it, so then they're able to do it. The person that doesn't have money, he isn't able to.
That's true. Well, also, I guess if the person that doesn't have money wants to go to school, they could take out a loan.
Yeah.
And then they pay for school that way. There's also a lot of ways you can go to school if you're a very smart person that maybe doesn't have the financial means. There's scholarships and grants and things that people can take advantage of.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think we'd love to see everybody get as much education as they want. How about this? I have a scenario. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Here's the scenario. You guys are both graduating from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And Max, you've decided that you're not going to go to college. You're going to be a plumber. Okay?
Plumber.
Max, you spend a lot of time in the bathroom. I think plumbing could be a potential career move for you. Okay?
What? Come on.
Yeah. And then William has decided that he is going to go to school and study. And so he has applied and he's gotten into a very expensive school, no scholarships. So he's got to take some student loans out. Maybe you're going to study psychology and gender studies. What do you think, Will?
Gender studies. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Will is going to go to school. Now he's taking out these loans, and now he doesn't have to pay the loans back. Guess who pays for those loans, Max?
Me.
That's right, because you're working, you're making income. You're a plumber making, let's just say, 70 grand a year. And your tax money will go to subsidize the education that William is taking for his psychology degree in gender studies.
Gender studies.
How do you feel about that, Max?
I like, Well, for a person who's like working hard, they and they get that money, I don't think they should be giving the money to a person who's at school. Either they shall pay for themselves, or they just don't go to college.
But doesn't Will have the right to get an education?
Yeah, Will can get an education, but why are you guys taking it from my bank account instead of?
Because you're working and you have money.
Yeah, but I'm the one who's working, and he's trying to get an education.
Okay.
So then, like,
I see. So let's
Basically
fast forward. Let's
unfair.
fast forward the scenario a little bit. Will's gone through 4 years of school. He spent a couple $100,000 on his education in gender studies, and now he's got a job, and he's making $200,000 a year because he's in a real hot market. And now he's making $200,000 a year. Fortunately, he doesn't have much student loan debt because most of it was forgiven. And how does that make you feel, Max, as a plumber making $70,000 a year?
Like how he got an education and then he got to get a really good job and got 2,000 grand. That it's kind of like
unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair because he got that money from the government, or actually not the government, from me, and then
The government doesn't give anybody money.
yeah, so
The
then
taxpayers give people money. Yes.
but it was like from me, and then like it was why, and then now he's getting a really good job, getting 200 grand.
Yeah.
So shouldn't I get like, I want my money back?
Well, that's not how it works, Max.
I know.
Mm,
It's just, there you are.
yeah.
Here's your money. Don't have to give it back.
Well, that's right. That's right. But let me ask you again. Don't you think Will has the right to get an education?
Yeah,
How-
he
so
can.
what would be the alternative if you're not, helping to pay for that?
If I'm not helping to pay for that, well then he should just grab a loan from a bank, or he can just grab out of his own bank account and use it.
Okay. So he would take the loan and then just pay off the loan over time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it used to be until Biden had his executive order.
Yeah,
right,
it's kind
yeah.
of just like, but the thing is, like, if you get a loan, then yeah, you can pay it off since he has that really good job. But since he just got all this money from my account, then he doesn't have to pay it back, and he just gets 200 grand every year.
Yeah. Seems a little unfair.
Yeah,
Well,
very.
Let me ask you about this, because at GSD, we talk about values like integrity, purpose, discipline. And so let's bring this back to some of our core values in terms of, does this policy drive purpose and accountability and discipline? What do you guys think?
No,
Why is that?
because you're making someone else do the work for you. You're making someone else earn the money for you. So that's not like having the discipline to work. That's not taking good accountability. There's a bunch of things that say how wrong that is.
Oh. Okay. All right. So I have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
And I'd like an answer from both of you on this. If you go to school and you take out student loans and you have to pay those loans back, do you think you would work harder in school or less hard in school?
If I have to pay it back, then I'll probably work. Well, to get that money back, I'll probably have to work harder to get all that money back. And if
Okay.
the government pays for me, I still want to get a good education, so I'll probably work hard. But it's like I don't have to pay it back, so then it's kind of like you can just relax.
Wise beyond your years, young men. What if there's a person who just doesn't have the means, but takes out the student loans, they get forgiven, but this person is working hard because they want to build a future for themselves, and getting a good education is part of that, and then they enter the the job market, and they are successful, and then they end up paying taxes just like Max paid taxes for the next person who's taking student loans. Do you feel like that's fair?
No.
No?
Well, I don't feel like it's basically just going back to the original question that you're paying for someone else's student loans.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first place, it's not really fair. So then it still probably wouldn't be fair here too.
Yeah. Okay. But you can see that there are going to be hardworking people that get advantages from the program that are going to do the right thing, right? They're going to work hard, they're going to study hard, they're going to get a job, and then they're going to ultimately be paying a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's definitely people out there that are hardworking with the good intentions and a purpose-driven lifestyle, and they're going to do the right thing. But do you think there's also people out there that might say, well, school's going to be free. I can just go to school and take out loans and not have to work. I don't have to even get good grades because it's all going to be paid back. Do you think that there are people out there that might take advantage of that system?
Yes. There's probably a lot of people that did that and either succeeded or failed.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the percentage is, or the ratio of people who are taking advantage of the system versus people who are doing the right thing?
I got 99%.
99% what?
Of the people are trying to take advantage of it.
Oh wow, that's a high ratio.
Yeah.
Max, what do you think?
I kind of think for the people who are, I kind of think around Will's to say
Okay.
how much. Yeah.
Okay, that's high. I'd say it's not that high, but I definitely think there's a strong ratio of people that would take advantage of the system or study things that don't really have maybe a high level career outcome. Gender studies being potentially one of those, as we kind of talked about it in jest. So, nonetheless, that was good topic, boys. I appreciate your perspective, raw perspective from two young gentlemen. And let's move on to the next topic.